doing my best to make you part of us is the rest.
Hey, welcome today. So we're gonna watch some Tucker Carlson, obviously. I hope you guys like him because I do. I think he's really funny, so I might laugh once in a while.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson.
Hey.
Let's say you wanted to control a country. How would you start? Well, you'd want to make sure you had the complete obedience of everybody inside your borders who was authorized to use deadly force. You would start with the military and then federal law enforcement and move your way down ultimately to agencies like the IRS. Controlling the guns would be a top priority for you if you ever wanted to go dictatorial, if you wanted to be baby doc.
Yeah, eventually. Yep.
But let's say you had deeper ambitions. Let's say you wanted the power not simply to control people's behavior, but to control how they think, not just their bodies, but their minds, as a god would.
It's like easier.
In that case, you need to take charge of the society's taboos. Mm-hmm. A taboo is something that by popular consensus is not allowed. A taboo may not be illegal, but it doesn't need to be. Over time, social prohibitions are more powerful and more enduring than laws. Yeah. Societies are defined by what they will not permit, as are famously religions. Muslims don't eat pork, neither do Orthodox Jews. Traditional Christians oppose extramarital sex. The Amish avoid electricity, and so on. American society isn't overtly religious, but it's governed by taboos, and it always has been. Yeah. What's interesting is how fast our taboos are changing. This is not happening organically. What we're allowed to dislike is being dictated to us from above, sometimes by force.
No.
Until fairly recently, for example, it was taboo in this country to attack people on the basis of their race. That was the main lesson of the Second World War, we were told, again and again.
Well, it took a bit more time.
The one thing we learned from the Nazis is that it's dangerous to reduce human beings to their genetic code. There is no master race.
It took a bit longer until we figured that one out.
But apparently we no longer believe it. Punishing people based on their skin color is not only permitted in modern America, it is mandatory throughout business and government and higher education, as long as the victims are white. At one time, that would have been unimaginable. So with the current behavior of our politicians. As recently as the 1992 presidential campaign, adultery was considered disqualifying for anyone seeking higher office.
Yeah,
Bill Clinton was very nearly derailed in the New Hampshire primary by his affair with Jennifer Flowers. Clinton went to elaborate lengths to lie about the relationship because he had no choice. But he was the last presidential candidate who had to meet this standard. By 2008, it was obvious to anybody who was paying attention that Barack Obama had a strange and highly creepy personal life. Yet nobody ever asked him about it. By that point, a leader's behavior within his own marriage.
We didn't know by 2008, I think. I mean, it was the first time he was elected. Yeah. We didn't know. I was actually quite happy when Barack Obama got elected the first time. I was thinking like, oh, this must be the end of racism. I mean, finally, like people, I guess they didn't see color enough, so they could vote for a black person. I think it's just, or maybe black people that just voted for Barack Obama just because. But I think most people just, especially back then, maybe not now, it's changing, but they were voting Democrats, like no matter who. It's like you're black, you vote Democrat. That was a big thing in a lot of places, I believe. So from what I've heard. Oh, and he's going to talk about Trump. Trump, he never cheated on anybody. I'm joking.
Which the poor relationship of his life have been declared irrelevant. It was Barack Obama's business, not yours.
A great guy for that.
One by one, with increasing speed, our old taboos have been struck down. Those that remain.
No, it's still taboo to cheat. It is, and rightfully so, I guess. We figured out that it was a better order in society from having just monogamous relationships. I think it makes sense. It works. Yeah, it's less fighting, I think, as long as everybody gets their mate, which never happens, sadly, for good or bad reasons.
Have lost their moral force. Stealing, flaunting your wealth, striking women, smoking marijuana on the street, shameless public hypocrisy, taking other people's money for not working. All of these things used to be considered unacceptable in America, not anymore. So it probably shouldn't surprise us that the greatest taboo of all is teetering on the edge of acceptability: child molestation. A generation ago, talking to someone else's children about sex was widely considered grounds for a thrashing.
Yes.
Touching them sexually was effectively a death penalty offense.
Yeah.
When Jeffrey Dahmer was bludgeoned to death in the bathroom of a Wisconsin prison in 1994, the Milwaukee district attorney had to caution the public not to turn Dahmer's killer into a folk hero. Jeffrey Dahmer had molested and murdered children. People felt justified in celebrating his death.
Yeah.
25 years later, that standard had changed dramatically in the state of Wisconsin, as in the rest of the country. In the summer of 2020, during the BLM riots in Kenosha, 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse defended his life from a convicted child molester called Joseph Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum was trying to kill Rittenhouse, so Rittenhouse shot him.
Yeah, but well, it's kind of strange to mix the child molesting thing. But yeah, we didn't have any input, like it wasn't direct with what happened, but anyway.
In self-defense. But it was Joseph Rosenbaum
shouldn't judge
whom the
somebody
media
like
cast
for
as
two
the victim
different
of the
crimes.
story.
Like,
Kyle Rittenhouse, meanwhile, an underage boy fending off violence from a child molester, was denounced as the villain. Ultimately, he was indicted for murder.
yeah.
One of the things that this tells us is that people who run our country no longer see child molesters as the worst among us.
Well, to be fair, yeah, when he was judged, the fact that he was a child molester wouldn't need to like hold weight in the judge's decision because it's not the same same action, the same event. I mean, it doesn't look good. He should be arrested for child molestation. And I mean, I don't know if he was arrested before. Probably wouldn't mind for death penalty in these types of situations. I mean, keep it to yourself.
It's never been more obvious than it was yesterday when the Wall Street Journal ran a long expose about kiddie porn on Instagram. Instagram, the Journal found, quote, helps connect and promote a vast network of accounts openly devoted to the commission and purchase of underage sex content.
I'm not that surprised. I was on Facebook about 4 or 5 years ago. There was a page with only pictures of children, barely dressed, and like in weird poses that you should not see children in. And well, I flagged the page, and Facebook told me that they saw nothing wrong with the page. But of course, I mean, if you talk against vaccines, then you're going to have a big flag or like saying the fact checkers when they come over you for facts. It's like accept the narrative checkers, and well, now that doesn't pass, but yeah. Sexualized children, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, of course. They're fucking crazy world sometimes.
Instagram connects.
I mean, if there should be like a minimum of civility and acceptance. I think it's pretty much international that, I mean, there's always a minority of like sexual deviance, but it's everywhere. It's not accepted to mix children with sex or anything that has to regard sex, other than, like, of course, if they want to know about procreation, I mean, you can still tell them the general idea. There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't need to be like limited, but anything that has to do with the joy of sex or the ways, or no, it's got nothing to do with children. And I think that we just need, we were all agreeing actually on this. We were all agreeing until people claimed that it was a social construct. Yeah, it is. But like, even in animals, there are social constructs which can be found like all around the world. And why? Because it works. Because, like, no matter if macroevolution exists, microevolution and adaptation does exist. And we have survived, and all those animals and creatures and plants have survived from, like, just by doing the same thing. And it's just, I think, I don't know, it's crazy to think that we can go back on that idea that, oh yeah, we're so progressive of like letting go of what has made us survive for at least 200,000 years, I'd guess. Well, maybe 7,000 for others, but whatever. I mean, it's been a long time enough that there are tried, tested, and true ideas that kind of need to stay or be balanced. It's a good balance. I think progressivism. I got a really big problem with that word. I think it's a good thing because like old ideas need to be challenged. There's no problem with that. If there's a debate to be had, as long as there's good ideas on both sides, or on one side more than the other, of course. It's a bit strange sometimes. Like I guess right-wing politics, or more, what is considered more conservative, they tend to feel as if the left-leaning people or progressives, they were thinking on emotions. But when you do ask, depending on the situation, like both can respond with emotions, and both can respond with the right arguments, I guess. So I think like everybody's a bit guilty of that. We're all affected by emotions. You can try not to be, but I think it's a part of being human. And if somebody doesn't act upon his emotions, it just, I don't know, makes him a robot, I guess.
Back to Tucker. And connects them to content sellers of child pornography. In one instance, the paper discovered that Instagram was recommending the phrase incest toddlers to users who'd expressed interest in similar material. By the way, no one at Instagram denied that any of this had happened, nor did Mark Zuckerberg, who controls the company. The journal story was accurate. It was all pretty shocking, but not as shocking as what happened next, which was effectively nothing at all. The largest circulation newspaper in the United States revealed that one of the world's most influential companies was promoting pedophilia, and nobody in power did anything about it. The Justice Department did not announce an investigation. Congress did not schedule hearings. The guy who runs
they can't wait to have it normalized.
Mosseri still has his job.
Freaks.
In fact, Mosseri's last tweet, which is pinned, is a video of himself bragging about how effective Instagram's algorithm is. Keep in mind as you watch this, it's real.
Trap all
people often
pedophiles.
talk about the algorithm, but there is no one algorithm for Instagram. There are many algorithms and ranking processes we use to try to personalize the experience.
No, but that's like in the word algorithm, you can have as many algorithms as you want. So there's like, of course, there's like multiples, but it still just counts as one in the end. It's like it's an and if, it's still the same code. They don't like suddenly code you differently. No, that's
to make it
whatever.
As interesting as we can for each and every person who uses Instagram. We believe in this idea of personalization. What you're interested in and what I'm interested in is different, and so therefore your Instagram and my Instagram should be different.
What you're interested in and what I'm interested in is different, Mosseri explains.
Well, the internet is an ocean, and I mean, if you're looking for a certain kind of fish and they saw that you don't like octopuses, you probably don't want to have octopuses when you hunt for fish. So I mean, it makes sense that there's an algorithm like giving people what they want. I still think that maybe these algorithms should give something like really different every once in a while. I think it's good to not keep people in the same echo chamber. It's good to have different opinions. It's kind of hard sometimes to hear, but it's really important for a character and to be able to have better arguments for your own opinions if ever you feel that they are better. Might they be or might they not be?
Patiently, so your Instagram feed will be different from mine. You're interested in children, that's why you're getting all the incest toddler posts. It's a highly personalized experience.
Well, that should be just blocked. It shouldn't exist on the internet.
Of course, everybody at Instagram, in fact, everyone everywhere in authority, will still claim to think that child molestation is bad, but the tone has changed unmistakably. When they say it's bad, they mean it in a kind of abstract way. Bad like a civil war in Central Africa is bad. You wouldn't prefer it, but there are reasons it happens. That's why we now refer to pedophiles as minor attracted persons, because honestly, who can judge? These people are a sexual minority, so pause before you attack them.
Well, okay, to be fair, we are never like, we don't choose to what we're attracted to. Maybe a little bit, might be something about social, maybe about your life experiences, emotions, different breakdowns you had in your life, but whatever. We don't decide on what the type of people we were attracted to. However, like, you can't act on minors. Whatever. I mean, I I could see it maybe as a curse, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are attracted to minors that will never act, and I mean, good on them. They didn't decide to be that way. I think it's as long as they don't act or help produce these types of materials, because the production of child pornography is what's hurting these children in the end. If they would make it virtual, I don't know, man. That's a really hard debate. Should we let people live their primal instincts? I mean, there's games about killing people and everything. There are some things that are not accepted even in gaming, so I guess maybe it shouldn't be. On the other hand, if like it's a plague. It's well, you can't. I don't know if you can catch it. I guess being molested. I don't know, man. It's a crazy thing, but I don't know if is it even stoppable? It's kind of like stopping drugs, stopping every type of criminal activity, stopping wife beating, stopping incest and everything. Should we? Yes. Can we? No. If we find an alternative that doesn't create the problem and doesn't fuel it, maybe. Would it be possible? I don't know. Like, even if you made virtual everything that is like not accepted to society, it should be considered okay because you're not the one participating in it. But then again, I mean, will these actions, virtual actions, reprocreate into the real world where they will do those actions? Or is it because they do those actions virtually that they will not do it in our real world here? It's a very hard debate. I think some people will not even like for me to talk about the subject as openly because it would be like death or nothing. But I'm really open to death penalty on child molesting or any actions of minor attracted people. But the ones that don't do anything, I mean, it's kind of like everybody's a killer. Everybody's a criminal until everybody has the potential to be a criminal, depending on the situation. It's to not act upon it that should be important and not what we think. Because everybody has like strange thoughts or like, well, I mean, I guess it's human, but we've all had these thoughts of like, at the moment, oh man, I would kill that person. And I mean, probably most people wouldn't, but there's still this idea that's going on in the head, and we don't give in, which what makes us human and not animals. So, yeah, let's go back to Tucker. I got a lot of things to say today.
And in any case, it's not like pedophiles are barging into the Capitol building to sit in Nancy Pelosi's chair.
Yes, they do.
Or asking uncomfortable questions about the last election. For miscreants like that...
I don't even think people in power can be in power if they don't accept what's going on in these high ranks. I think they're all either actors, handlers, or they accept it.
No punishment is too harsh. So far this month, the FBI's Washington field office has issued 11 press releases. 10 out of 11 have been about January 6th. Keep in mind that January 6th happened more than 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now you know why the feds were ignoring kid touchers on Instagram. They're too busy to respond. They've got much more important things to do, like finding white supremacists.
Yeah, internal terrorism. It's much more important than like pedophilia, which, oh my God. I can't believe how they could put anything like more, a bigger priority than that. What, these people, they don't have children? I don't know.
White supremacists are America's new child molesters. We've got zero tolerance for white supremacists because no one threatens the life of this country more than they do. Here's Joe Biden.
No, that's not an accepted narrative.
Last month.
Really, that
stand up against the poison of white supremacy, as I did my inaugural address, to single out.
It's kind of funny. I don't know what he's wearing, but he almost looks like a Ku Klux Klan kind of robe. Obviously, it's not because it's not just white, but whatever.
As the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
there's in this moment there's a lot other things that are more dangerous than white supremacy. Yeah, like just the economy is a bigger danger at the moment. Not that supremacy of any race is good. I mean, it's such a limited type of way of thinking. It's as if you would have you think you could make like better recipes from just having one type of pepper. I don't know. It's kind of stupid. Like people are there to complete each other, and every race can bring something good to any other. And I mean, I like having food from everywhere. I definitely do. Especially vegans. I mean, imagine being a vegan back then.
I'm not saying this because I'm at a black HBCU. I say wherever I go.
Pardon the feedback, but you heard the point. White supremacy is the most dangerous threat to the American homeland. Joe Biden just told us that.
Yeah.
It's more dangerous than the threat of nuclear war with Russia. It's more dangerous than the threat of the Mexican drug cartels, who've already killed hundreds of thousands of Americans
is less dangerous
and are now
than white
in
supremacy.
control of swaths of our southwestern states. White supremacy is that bad, Joe Biden says. In fact, it's worse. But what is it? That's the question.
He says whatever.
Can anyone in
ask him
authority
to.
actually define white supremacy? What is it? Is white supremacy liking white people too much? If so, that's going to put those of us with white children in a pretty tough spot. Or is white supremacy something much more obviously bad, like trying to expel all non-whites from America and creating some kind of ethno-state? If that's Joe Biden's definition, what exactly is the scope of this threat? How many people are currently working on this American white ethno-state project?
A lot of
what are the
people
chances
from the
they're going to
FBI,
pull it
actually.
off? Our guess is not very many and precisely zero. But we can't say for sure because no one has showed us the numbers.
What did he say? How many people work for that?
Ethno-state. If that's Joe Biden's definition, what exactly is the scope of this threat? How many people are currently working on this American white ethno-state project?
Oh, there's actually a lot, Tucker. I'm surprised you didn't see the information. Actually, there's a couple of people who came out like in the last weeks from the FBI. Wasn't this whistleblower? I'm sorry, I'm not very good with names. I'm good with information to remember it, but not names. So yeah, it was. He said that he was working on like stopping people like the Proud Boys and other white supremacy groups or individuals that were January 6th and everything like that. And there was a sudden boost of internal like investigation and white supremacy. There's I don't know how many people, but there was a lot. It's shifted. When it was the terrorists, they were like the Taliban's or Al Qaeda back in the 2000s, and ever since that kind of died out. I don't know, maybe because they stopped supplying them with money. Yeah. Well, then they turned inwards to try to stop internal terrorism, and including white supremacists. So yeah.
And what are the chances they're going to pull it off? Our guess is not very many and precisely zero. But we can't say for sure because no one has showed us the numbers.
No.
These are not rhetorical questions. When the President of the United States described...
Well, actually, he said, yeah, I remember now. He said that there was some, in every city, there's like a district of the FBI or something. And they kind of had a, I don't know how to say it in English, I'm sorry about that, but a quota. It's like a minimum that they need to do every month. And it was like something like 4 people they had to follow. And so they almost invented internal terrorists.
Something as the worst possible crime Americans can commit, you have a right to know what that crime is.
Yeah, of course.
You used to have that right. Under our pre-revolutionary legal code before George Floyd, questions like these were easy to answer. A crime was defined as something that an elected legislature had explicitly banned, usually an act that hurt somebody else.
Or something
in
that's
America,
more alone.
crimes were described precisely with words in English and then preserved in books, which you could read yourself. If you ever wondered whether you were committing a crime, you could just look it up. You could know for sure whether you were a...
Kind of like people calling me. It's not people I know. I worked at a telephone, like communication companies. I had people call me, hey, I wanted to know if I would do something like this, like X or Y, would that be considered illegal? And I'm like, well, man, I don't really work in that. And I was, I think I only had one number like that, but like colleagues of mine also had similar numbers. And what I said is like, if you're second guessing if it's legal or not, it's probably not moral, and you probably know you shouldn't do it. So try to find another way to get to your ends.
Criminal.
Different means to get to your ends.
And needless to say, that's the point. The point of the exercise is to keep you off balance, to keep you afraid. When no one's willing to define the offense, you can't be sure whether or not you're committing it. You could be accused at any time, and everything you have taken from you. You live in fear. Remember this guy?
Emmanuel Cafferty was driving near a Black Lives Matter protest in Poway in his SDG&E truck when he says he noticed somebody following him and trying to get his attention. Later, that person posted a picture of him making what some believed is a white supremacy symbol on Twitter. Cafferty says he had no idea about any white power symbols and was just cracking his knuckles outside his window when the picture was taken of him. Later that day, he says he was notified by SDG&E that he would be suspended
they tried
pending
to switch
an
like some kind of
investigation.
this, like
a few days later, he was
W and
fired.
a P or something like that.
What that man did was so offensive, as you just saw, that local news had to blur the photograph of his hand. He was fired from his job. His life was...
No, actually, it's because the fingers, they were lower than the waist of the person. So immediately lost. And he didn't want to lose. So he said he was a racist and a white supremacist. But he totally got owned. He looked into the hole in the finger, so he lost.
Destroyed for just cracking his knuckles.
Take the loss. That's it.
He didn't know cracking his knuckles was racist in his defense, but then nobody did until the day that poor Emmanuel Cafferty was unwise enough to crack them.
I don't know. Is there any race
when a
that
crime
can
has
crack
no
their knuckles?
definition, anyone can be guilty of it. Mm-hmm. It's hard to relax in a country like that. The old system was better. Government operated on the basis of laws, not amorphous moral terror. Politicians couldn't accuse you of something they couldn't define. The legal code was straightforward. Child molestation was a crime.
Yeah.
Having unfashionable opinions was not. Outside of the public sphere, the population mostly governed itself, as it does in every society, and used taboos to do it. You knew what was allowed and what wasn't because the rules didn't change very often. The taboos were organic.
Yeah. Well, as long as somebody
from
does
collective
something
experience
stupid enough.
and instinct, the two most reliable guides to life. They evolved.
Yeah, that's the best way. Well, it's getting harder and harder. But usually one of my general rules is that I just try to remember what doesn't make sense. So I don't need to remember much, and I just need to work off my I don't know, sense of morality. Usually it's good enough, but it's getting harder because there's more and more stupid stuff.
For a reason. They still do. Our job at this point is to protect them, despite the hectoring, the nonstop hectoring from the people in charge. You know the outlines of right and wrong. You were born knowing them. So don't let them talk you out of what you can smell. Don't let them rationalize away your intuitive moral sense. Cling to your taboos like your life depends on them.
Yeah, kind of depends. I'm half and half on that. I'm like more of a centrist than each side. What did he say? Yeah, I had an idea there. I'm going to bring it back.
From the people in charge. You know the outlines of right and wrong. You were born knowing them.
Well, we're not born knowing them, but almost. I can, yeah.
So don't let them talk you out of what you can smell.
Yeah, that was the point, yes. Indeed. If they can make you believe that your senses are wrong, that you're not seeing well, that what you're thinking of is not the right thing and everything, I don't know. It sounds like a strange manipulation. If you can buy into this relative way of thinking, you can be taking down a darker path than you would if you were kept to your values and your moral code that was instructed to us while we were very young for most of us. Some of us didn't have the chance to that. I guess it's much harder to adjust to humanity when you don't have this moral code, which I think is a good thing. Kind of like there's a lot of religions. Like obviously there's no religion that's perfect, and most of them have very strange things. But if you take the gist of it, I think like most of them give us a standard moral code, which kind of works mostly It's better. I guess it's better than nothing.
Don't let them rationalize away your intuitive moral sense. Cling to your taboos like your life depends on them, because it does. Cherish and protect them like family heirlooms. That's exactly what they are.
Younger people say the news is full of lies.
I didn't watch the first show. That's like the second show. I mean, it was good. It's Tucker Carlson. Tucker is always on point. I don't always agree with what he says, but I mean, he's got a very good delivery. He's very talented. He's got surely like millions of views. I see 26.7 million on that one. I mean, that's amazing. He racks in numbers higher than if he was on television, and he got a lot on television too. I think he was like in the 4 or 6 millions on Fox. I mean, Fox is all right. I don't agree to every opinions there, but I mean, I think they're not too bad. But they took out Tucker Carlson. I don't see the reason of watching them like anymore. It's sad for the other ones. Sometimes they had good things to say and everything, but I kind of stopped following Fox News. Like even, well, I mean, sometimes, I mean, it's good to have information from about everywhere. They do have some good takes, but I mean, since Tucker's is gone, it's like they lost at least like 80% of anything I found interesting on that channel. But I'm really happy that Tucker's back. He's good. Of course, people are gonna have something to say against him. People don't know him. They don't listen to him. He's like this classic 90s liberal. I mean, he knows he was wrong about the war in Iraq. He came back with that, and that's great. I mean, when does a journalist actually goes years after or even soon after and just say, you know what, I was wrong about that. I had the information I had back then, and I thought I was right, and I found out I was wrong. It happens to everybody. Everybody's wrong. Nobody can be right. We always try to strive. We need to strive to be right. Not be right. To think right. I guess that's a better way. But it's easier to follow to think right than be right, because everybody's wrong once in a while, or maybe some people just more often than others. But yeah, and I like that in people. I like when they say that they were wrong, that they can be better. I think it's just a positive attitude to have. Even it's a reflection. It might sound negative to some people. Some people, they actually respect less the person, but I think it's because that they themselves, they don't have the power to do an introspection at that level and find out that they were wrong. And it's not exactly, you don't need to regret anything you've done. You did what you did when you had the information and you thought it was the best thing to do at that time, and there's nothing wrong with that. We shouldn't waste time on regretting, like if when it happened we knew or thought that we were doing the better choice, the better thing, the better solution for us. And so no regrets. Actually, I have a song I haven't done in years. It doesn't sound very good today, but it's a pretty good song, and it's called No Regrets. And yeah, I think it's better to look towards life to have the less regrets possible. So, all right. So I had a lot to talk to you about today. I hope you join us next time at Versus the Rest. And don't remember that we are Versus the Rest. We're going to check out probably Tucker Carlson soon. I don't know if he's going to do a show every day. I might. I don't know. I'm a busy guy, and I got a lot of things to do and more aspirations than just talking. However, it's okay as long as I like it. Who cares if people listen to it? I guess at this point I like it, but I mean, we need to do things for ourselves and for what we believe in. So yeah, I'm just having fun here. I hope you join us next time on Versus the Rest. Ciao.